Good morning. Once again, my name is Jason Cord. I am the GIS coordinator with Environmental Affairs. And the title is kind of a misnomer. It's not GIS tools. It's more of data collection tools for field data collection. So we're going to look at the right tools for field data collection. We're going to look at the right software for those tools. We're going to talk about the Esri Collector Overview, E&V data collection with case studies, and a demo. Unfortunately, we're not going to have a demo because I left a key component back at the office. So that's kind of good news. You'll get a break a little bit sooner. Bad news is I had a really cool demo. I had guys out in the field collecting data. It was fireworks. It was going to be great. And then lastly, some questions and answers. So the right tools for field data collection. Typically, most people are going to use the GPS units, Trimble units, TopCon, things like that. But now that we have iPads, tablets, and other mobile devices that can give you some really good GPS accuracy, so we're looking at the two different tools. The GPS units, the users typically are moderately technical. They have some GPS classes. They know how to adjust the PDOP and all the other fine tools to make that get that precision. iPads, tablets, mobile devices, those are geared towards the casual user. They just open it up, drop a point. They don't have to worry about did I get 14 satellites? Did I get, do I have tree cover? I don't want to say it just works, but it just works. Training, typically I can train people to use the tablet, iPhone, whatever, typically in an hour. It's pretty quick. GPS unit, the training usually takes a day. Some in-class training and some field training to get it so that they can operate on their own. Troubleshooting. Troubleshooting out with the iPad tablet is fairly straightforward. It's pretty simple. It can be one or two things, and those can be fixed out in the field. Where a GPS unit, that can be a little bit more difficult. The downside is accuracy. With the tablet, it's 5 meters. Sometimes you can get a little bit better, but not by much. GPS unit, of course, you're going to get sub-centimeter with post-processing, and so those are going to be more surveying activities. And I'll show you how we're using it. The best use for the iPads or tablets, mobile devices, are going to be mapping. Yeah, the object that we're looking for is in this general area within the 5 meters. The accuracy, let's see, where was I? Best use for the GPS unit is going to be surveying, unless you are really skilled. I mean, depending on what your accuracy is. I skipped one. Repeatability. That is an important one. Repeatability is, can you go out in the field, get the training, go out in the field, do your data collection, and then 5 months later, go back out and do it again without additional training? With the tablet, it's fairly easy, and there's not much additional training needed. With GPS unit, I found that you're going to have to take some additional training. And I want to stress that, like I said, the users are the casual users. It's the historian, it's the biologist that are 90% in the field, 10% out or 90% in the office, 10% out in the field. And these, plus we have additional capabilities for the iPad, tablet, and then the GPS units. They're pretty limited, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So the additional benefits, there's going to be that larger screen. We can take all our manuals. We can take all of our field guides. We can take all of our MOU documents for the previous presentation. They can put all their toolkits on that application when they go visit these bridges and make these assessments. So reference materials, field guides, things like that. Plus, we also reduce the number of necessary devices. Sure, you're going to have some GPS units that have cameras, but the very low pixel and the pictures come out really crappy. whereas the iPads or the tablets, mobile devices, they usually have a better camera associated with them. So the right software for the job. For TxDOT, for my preferences, they need to be free, low cost. I don't know how many people work for TxDOT, but filling out the paperwork to get money, it's a hassle. So let's just skip that. Don't have to worry about it. Customizable. I want it customizable out of the box. I don't want to do any coding. I don't want to have to hire a consultant to do the coding. No offense to the consultants. I want it to be reliable. I want it to work every time, even out in the field with the casual users. And then I want it something that people are going to want to use. When I offer up a GPS unit, people go, I don't want to use that. So then the data then they do a different way to collect the data. But if I offer up an iPad, sure, I don't want to say it seems fun, but it seems fun to the users. So software. So I looked at a couple of different software packages. There's one called Fulcrum. When you have to call for a price, that just nicks my first thing as free or low cost. Fulcrum's about $300, and then you have to have some coding to create customizations. So that's out the window. I don't want to have to deal with that. We used an application called DoForms. DoForms I really liked it. It was free, but then when you added some of the other enhancements, they started charging per month to do that data. With DoForms, there was no map interface, so all you had was a list of fields that are required to fill in. In the demo, I was going to show this, but obviously that's not going to happen now. Plus, it adds additional steps to the workflow, which we've taken out with some of the last application. The last application is ESRI's Collector, and it is included with our enterprise license with ArcMap, so that met all of my requirements. We already had it. I didn't have to pay additional for it. There was no additional coding needed, and it was pretty reliable and fairly easy to use out of the box. So the Esri Collector, it has a map-based interface, and I've got some slides we'll actually see it. And it's similar to Google, it's similar to MapQuest or to Bing Maps. We can dispatch data to the field crews from the home office. So the field crews are out in the field. They need additional data. We can dispatch that data to them. They don't need to go back into the office, load up the data, and go back out. We can push it directly to the devices. We can monitor their progress from the office. We can bring up what they're collecting as they are collecting it and seeing where they're at, what they've collected, and we can also QC that data. And if we need to make additional changes to that data, we can make changes and push that back out for additional data. We can customize the data forms for faster data collection to meet whatever they're collecting, and we can pre-populate the fields, or we can give them domains or multiple choices to choose from so that all our data maintains is standard. They can share captured photos and videos with the home office as they are collecting the data. And then if you're out in an area with no GPS signal or without any cellular signal, you can take the data offline and collect it, and then once you get back into your home office, load it back into the system. What I really like about the Esri Collector, it's really truly sharing the data as you are collecting it. The field data collection, the crews are out there, they're collecting the data. I can be sitting in the office, watch them collect the data. There's about a 20-minute lag, but you can still, that's pretty good in real time, especially out in the middle of nowhere, Texas. And as they're collecting the data, I can go ahead and start building maps for them, or if they've got other people, those people can start building maps on the data that they've collected. And then all that data can get pushed up into ArcGIS Online as they're collecting the data, so that if their manager just doesn't use ArcMap, but they know how to use a web page, then they can bring that up and watch the data being collected and make comments there. So you're really just sharing the data as it's being collected. So this is the ENV data collection workflow. We start with prepping our data, talking to the subject matter experts, finding out what they're going to collect, when they're going to collect it, and if they have pre-populated fields, if they have domains that they want to establish so that all the data comes back, coming back as the same. We give some training. Like I said, it's about an hour. It's pretty easy. And then they go through the data collection phase. They can collect, as they're collecting the data, I can monitor it, or their project manager can monitor it as they're collecting. And so the theme that keeps going on here is that if the data needs to change while they're collecting, we can change it. They don't have to go back out, come back to the office, change the data, and go back out. We can do it as they are collecting the data. So not only I can QC the data, but also the subject matter expert, project managers can do it. And then lastly, distribution. We can live stream the data back to the project managers, or if it's not sensitive, we can also stream it to the general public at the same time. I don't see where we would do that, but that is a possibility, that is a capability that can happen. And then we can also bring it back in the office, update it with additional data, and move forward. So we've really shrunk the time to do data collection. GPS was a little bit more, using a GPS unit is a little more cumbersome. So I'm not gonna, it takes a little bit longer. This is pretty quick, pretty easy. So the case studies that we had, and this is where I was going to show some demo. I woke up about 3:30 this morning, straight out of bed, going, "Oh, I left that thing at home, at the office rather." So I'm going to talk about the Natural Diversity Database. I'm going to talk about vegetation mapping, mussel surveys, animal crossings, and historical property surveys. This is the Natural Diversity Database that we received from Texas Parks and Wildlife. This would be active on the iPad, and as we have field crews out, they can access this data. It's secure. It doesn't break our MOU with TPWD. And they can say, hey, I'm in this particular area. In the natural database, what kind of animals, what kind of vegetation has been reported in the past. We have a version of this that they can actually, if they see something, they can actually fill out the form, and when they get back to the office, they can print a report if it qualifies to be inputted into the Natural Diversity Database. So this has been pretty helpful when you're out in the field. We can also combine that data set with the, out of order. So here's the mussel survey data. We can go out and drop a point for a particular area, or we can draw a polygon, or we can draw a line, and we can say, these are the species of mussels that we found, and here are the quantities that we have found. Since mussels are really small, if you tag each one, there'd just be a lot of points on top, so we try to do these in areas that make a little bit more sense. So if we had a bridge that we're rehabbing and there was mussels, then we can say these grid areas contained these mussels, these varieties, and these numbers. Vegetation mapping. We got the vegetation data from Texas Parks and Wildlife as well. For this particular project, we're looking at how the vegetation is going to impact, say, a Super 2 or adding an additional lane. We can look at what vegetation is being reported from TPWD and then what we're actually seeing out in the field, and we can coordinate with them whether it's actually there or not. We can go through there and we can say, is the right-of-way, let me look here, is it the managed right-of-way? Is it completely unmaintained? Is it maintained? And whether it's most likely mowed and maintained kind of situation. So they go through here and they can determine the different characteristics of the vegetation inside the right-of-way. We can also do, we have also starting with some animal crossings, whether a bridge or a conveyance is useful for animal crossings. Does it meet some standards that animals would use it to cross from one side to the other, or is it blocking that particular path? This is something that we just started. With all of this, we can also take pictures, we can also take videos and attach it to each location. Historical properties surveys. We can send this out with our historians. They can go out to the buildings, to the sites, whatever. They can take pictures. They have predetermined fields that they can populate. So it's pretty much the same theme. There's an object, we're going to go collect the data. We can customize our answers to fit the subject matter expert, and then we can bring that data back, produce maps, do our analysis, or whatever it needs to get done. Hey, look, demo time. We've been over it. So this was about 15 minutes. The demo was going to be about 10 minutes, but since I don't have that, we're going to run early, or I'm running pretty quickly. I apologize, but you're going to get break really soon.
Can you describe it?
I can describe it. You know what I can do is everybody line up in a line and come by one, and I can show you how we do it. So that was the demo. So question and answers, and before you ask, that's not one of ours. That's another district's. It was left on a truck, fell off, they ran over it, but it wasn't one of ours, so we're okay. No, it didn't work. Not what I was told. Any questions? All right, thank you.